So today's agenda, we're going to cover a couple things. And, most importantly, what I want to cover is what's most important to you all. And that's how payroll affects the tax office. So this is for any tax office or accounting firm that offers payroll services to small business clients. It would also be helpful for anybody who's determining whether or not they should offer payroll to their clients. So if you've just started a tax office, or if you've been in tax for a while and you're just now getting a lot of folks asking you to do their payroll, we're going to cover everything you need to know to be able to offer that as well. I just had a few more people join, so I want to give them an opportunity to complete that questionnaire. I apologize if it's covering part of this slide, but I think it'll be really great to hear from everybody. So, all right. So again, welcome to the Introduction to Workful Pro webinar. Focus has been a recurring theme here in my world on the sales team, at the IRS forums and at other trade shows we've been to. As in, our goal is to help tax offices and CPA firms focus on your core business while maximizing your reach and value to your current book of business and prospective clients. So, offering the ability to focus on tax during tax season and be able to focus on payroll in the off season. But, I think our driver here is to help you maximize your time while you're in the office, no matter what the task is that you're providing, but primarily during tax season from January to April, and then again in October, to be able to focus on what is going to pay you the most per hour. And from what I understand, that's doing tax returns. All right, I'm going to end the poll now and we'll move forward. So today's agenda, what we're going to do is cover, who is Workful for. So we'll do a quick presentation. What does Workful solve? How do we solve it? And this is going to be really essential for anybody who's never seen Workful before, who hasn't used it in the past. I know we had a number of people sign up who are current customers who are maybe looking to expand their knowledge of the product. I saw some folks that have used us in the past, but the majority are people who have not used us at all. So I want to make sure that we give you a full-on introduction to who we're for, what we do, and what problems we solve for tax preparers. We're going to do a demo, and in the demo, I'm going to do a short clip of how to get started. So after this webinar, you're going to be able to, if you want to take the next step, you can take the next step on your own. You can go to the website, set up an account, and onboard a client. And then we're going to go over the day-to-day use. So what it looks like to process payroll for clients, what it looks like to manage clients, and what it'll look like to invoice them as well. So the goal here is to give you, whether or not you are a prospective buyer of Workful or someone who has purchased Workful and is currently using it to process your client's payroll. We want you to leave here with a clear perspective of the value that we offer to tax firms. And I think what we'll do with those poll results is share them in between the presentation and the demo to kind of give everybody something to chew on while I'm getting the demo pulled up. Okay, so what is Workful Pro? Well, in my opinion, Workful Pro is the most flexible professional payroll system on the market. It's a single dashboard to manage all of your payroll clients, and we make it flexible for you to do whatever level of payroll you want to do for that client, and flexible for you to give them whatever access you want them to. So if you've done payroll before, you're all familiar with QuickBooks Desktop, QuickBooks Online, ADP, Paychex, Thomson Reuters. All of them have pluses and minuses to using them. The list goes on and on. And what I can guarantee you is that with Workful, if you've experienced those programs in the past, what you'll find with us are two things primarily. One, that we are very easy to use. We've got an interface that's simple for you to use, simple to train your employees on, and simple for your clients to participate in if that's something that you like. The second thing is that we support our customers. We've got telephone support, and when you call in, you get somebody who's in this building upstairs from me, who knows the product and who can resolve your issue with a single phone call. Okay, so the other valuable features I want to kind of point out here is our integrated timesheets and Excel upload templates, which gives you flexibility in how you receive data from your clients. Our automated payroll tax filing, which includes year-end W-2s and 1099s. A flexible client access. So if you have clients, which we'll cover in more detail in a little bit, who participate or who don't participate, or maybe who you don't even want to know that Workful exists, we can accommodate that. And then we offer real-time and after-the-fact payroll. I know after the fact is super important for a lot of tax offices, and it's something that you can accomplish here while still taking advantage of our automated tax filing. All right, so when I talk to people, they typically fall into one of four buckets, and when I think we can be a good fit for any of them. But the first one is just getting into payroll. So maybe you just started a tax office, maybe you've had a tax office for a long time, and you just now have clients who are coming and kind of beating your door down, trying to get you to do their payroll. Check my, okay. The second bucket would be that I do payroll, but only when tax clients ask me to do it. So it's not really something that I'm dying to do more of or dying to get into, but I'm the one-stop shop for my tax clients, and I want to be there for them, payroll included, payroll, bookkeeping, what have you. The third bucket is going to be that payroll is a big part of your business. Now, ideally for me, I'd love for all of you to be in that bucket where it's a tool to help you grow the business. It's a tool that you're making money on, and it's a tool that your clients, find a lot of value in. The fourth bucket is that, someone who's trying to sunset their payroll, and I do hear this a lot, people who want to be a little more semi-retired or maybe even fully retired, who want to work during tax season and, take vacation outside of tax season, and who can blame them? So we certainly have options to enable you to sunset that business. All right. If you're on this, there's a good chance that we talked at an IRS tax forum at a CPA event this summer. And you'll remember I was raffling off an Apple Watch at each of those events. And I had everybody fill out a little survey, kind of like the one we did to begin this, but with a little more detail. And this is what I heard. This is what I heard from you all and from other folks that obviously were not able to join me. We probably had 600 people fill out these raffle tickets. So the most important things for me are why do you do payroll and what are your challenges with it? Because if I can understand the why, I can help be the solution for you. And if I can understand the challenges, then we can improve our product to be a better fit for you. So why do you do payroll? It's a profit center. I've got that one starred because I think that's the best one. And I want payroll to be a profit center for anybody who uses Workful. Number two is that they did it just because their tax clients request it, and that's understandable. You make a lot of money off a tax return, and you want to support those clients. You want to retain those clients so they come back year in and year out. And then the third is that it's a loss leader, which, that's my least favorite, but it's understandable. If you're able to make a good bit of money on a tax return, it's understandable that you'd be willing to take a loss in payroll in order to get that tax business. But again, we want to kind of transition everybody to that profit center category. And the challenges, there was actually a very long list of challenges, but I think the ones that kind of bubbled up to the top are that it interferes with tax business, which we'll get into a little more, but that's definitely the most important one that I heard. Two, that's time consuming. Then if it's time consuming, that just means that you're not making enough money on payroll, which is something we can try to help fix. And then unorganized clients, which we've got solutions to keep your clients organized and to keep, if you have employees helping with payroll, to keep them organized to make sure it's not a burden. And then the goals are to attract new clients, to streamline the process, to be a one-stop shop. And then my favorite, to do less payroll and have more vacation. So we've got tools that may not necessarily mean that you're doing less payroll, but you can take up less time on your calendar with payroll with our solution. All right, and then what do we solve? So I've kind of busted this out into three separate slides to cover, I think, the most important things that we solve for tax offices. And the number one most important thing we do for tax offices is we automate the payroll tax filing. And as you can see illustrated here, the reason that's important is because in January, when you have people coming to the office, if you do a lot of 1040s, which may not be everybody on this webinar, but if you're an office that handles a lot of 1040s, January can be bonkers. And when you have people chomping at the bit to get a refund, you want to be freed up to be able to crank out a 1040 that honestly you can bill more for than for filing a 941 in most cases. So January, when it's 1040 season, you want to be able to focus yourself and your staff on taxes. In April, when it's tax day and you're trying to file Q1 941s and trying to get all the extensions in and trying to get all the last minute 1040s filed, you want to be able to focus on that tax business. July, when Q2 941s are due, I've got vacation in there. I think that's certainly a time of year when you have more time to be able to do things like payroll, but it is nice to take a vacation. And then, of course, we just had it earlier this week, is that October deadline. Anybody doing business returns is probably just recovering their sanity and hopefully taking a deep breath right now. So what we mean by that is we really do automate it. There's no intervention you have to take. There's no intervention that your client has to take. When you process payroll, we'll collect the taxes. When the taxes are due, we'll pay them. We'll e-file the returns for you without any intervention. And at the end of the year, we will automate the W-2 and 1099 filings. So flexible access, and something that I noticed in this questionnaire is that I think the majority were saying they don't want their clients to participate in payroll, which that's that third option we have there for the pro only. However, as you get into payroll, or maybe you're already deep into payroll, you know that different clients have different needs. So some clients, and I'll just say for a use case, a restaurant who is dealing with clocking in and out, who's dealing with tracking tips, who's dealing with maybe time off. It might be important for them, for their employees to have access to the interface, to get pay stubs, to be able to use our timesheet system. And then the benefit for you there is that it flows directly into payroll. And then you might have somewhere where you are going to set up the client and the client wants to run payroll themselves. Now, you'll retain access as a third-party admin. You'll have total control over their account. You can have total control over the billing if it's part of your business model to bill them separately. But we give you all levels of flexibility there. So on a case-by-case basis, you can determine what's the best fit for your client. Third bucket on this, on what do we solve, is streamlining the process. I heard from a lot of people this summer that the biggest pain point for them is how they get the information from their client to the office, right? So I hear from a lot of folks that their clients will call it in, they'll text in the hours, they'll email in the hours. Some programs offer an interface that your clients are able to log into and type in the hours. So I think our solutions are give you kind of a mix of options to again choose what best fits your client. Um, Ideally, if you've got a business with employees who are hourly, you're going to have them using our timesheet system. Again, it's included in the pricing. There's no upcharge for it. So your clients can use our employee mobile apps that are geo-fenced to be able to clock in and out, which means if that employee is not on site, the button's not going to work. Other option is an on-site tablet application where employees get a 4-digit code, they can clock in and out. And then lastly, which I think is a really great tool for streamlining or standardizing that data entry, is we create a Excel template that your clients would be able to fill out for you, email it to you, and you can upload into Workful. And that'll pull all the data into the payroll run. All right, so this is just kind of some bigger shots. You can kind of see the interface for that for the tablet application time clock and for the mobile application. And now let's talk pricing. So I think if you use, obviously, if you're using Workflow already, you're familiar with the pricing, but I just want to cover it here and really hammer down that it includes all of the features. Whether you use them or not, they're available to use. So if you have clients with different sets of needs, you can give them a separate set of features based on their requirements. So it's $35 a month per client, $6 a month per employee. So I've got an example there of a 10-employee companies doing payroll for less than $100 a month. And that's something you can pay for yourself, or you can have your client log in and put their own card on file to pay those subscription fees. And then if you are paying it yourself, I'll show you a tool to be able to bill your clients inside of Workful. All right, a couple other services I want to cover just because it comes up a lot. Data input, we're coming up on the new year. And I know if you are considering switching to Workful, moving data from your existing program to this program is probably hanging over your head. That's something we can take care of for you. We've got staff here that knows our program in and out, obviously, who can hammer out data input very quickly. So we'll get you set up on time. Number 2 is security. Many of you know, we started off at a tax software company called TaxSlayer that had IRS contracts that required top level security. So MFA protection to log in, bank level security for our databases. And then lastly, the tax filing. Tax filing really is an extension of your team in-house, where we are literally handling all that for you. We've got tax experts in-house who can answer your questions and help you resolve issues if any come up with the IRS. Then our expert support I mentioned earlier. I think one of the main ways we stack up against our competition is through our really top level customer support. And the things that I hear that people love about them the most are that when you call in, you get somebody who knows the product and who can resolve it in one shot. And then 2, gosh, they're just nice people. It's a good staff we have here, and I'll brag on them. It's a good crop. So hopefully, if you haven't used us yet, you'll sign up and you'll get to know them, and they'll get to know you, and they'll keep you happy. Okay, so what I'm going to do while I'm getting this set up is I'm going to share the results of that poll we did up front. If anybody wants to kind of scroll through that. And Maggie, if you'll chat to me if it doesn't look right, let me know, please. Looks good. Okay. All right, so let's take a look. So payroll helps me. Looks like increased revenue was the number one on that. But a lot of growth, a lot of growing the business, staying busy in the off season. That makes sense. What part does payroll play in your business? That's a profit center. I love it. That's the best. It pays some bills. That's good too. And it's a break even. We kind of want to get that break even up into those top two categories. And then the loss leader, I love it that we didn't see any loss leader responses. That's fantastic. Things that I don't like about payroll, unorganized clients. I gotta say that's what I hear all the time. So I understand that. Ties me to the office. Makes a lot of sense. Certainly in July when you want to be on vacation and you got to worry about filing taxes or running payroll. That it interferes with the tax business. 1 out of 9. That's not bad. Whoever is that did say that. Hopefully we can help you out there. Payroll is the best. I agree there. All right. And then in a perfect world, your clients will rely on you. Well, let me tell you, no matter what access you grant them in Workful, your client is still relying on you. So, and then the last one is features that would help me. Automated tax filing. I love it. Payroll assistance and automatic payroll. That's a feature that we're looking into, and hopefully something we'll be able to offer, but more on that later. All right, so now I'm going to share this window. So we'll have a link that we share to this this website for anybody who hasn't set up a pro account yet. Chatting at Maggie again, making sure everything looks good. But this would be where you go to set up an account. And I'm not going to go into too much detail here because it's pretty simple. You'd go to this site, workful.com/workful for pros. You'd hit make the switch for free and or sign up. That's going to take you down to this form that you'll fill out with your information. So your first and last name, your email, the mobile, your clients, the website's not required, and the comments are not required, and let us know you're not a robot, and then you'll become a pro. The following page, you'll set up a username and a password using your email. And then the third step just drops you onto a pro dashboard. And that's what I'm going to show you now. All right, so I'm going to go here and log in. And I'm going to zoom in here. Just a fuzz. Again, if any questions come up during this part of the demo, please send them to Maggie in the chat or the Q&A, and she'll get them answered for you. All right, so what we're looking at here is a Workful Pro dashboard, and this is what it looks like if you've got, your book of business plugged into Workful. You've got front and center here, you've got your upcoming payroll runs. And I know that this is a challenge with some other systems where it doesn't necessarily tell you when you need to run payroll, so you have to keep it on a separate calendar. So with Workful, we've got all of the upcoming paydays. So this would be the next 2 weeks. In the previous week, you'll see Goody Two Shoes here missed a payroll run. So it lets you know you need to jump on that. The rest of them are anybody who has a payroll due this week or next week. And then over here, you've got your client list to access any other clients who are either, go take a look at it, who are either in mid setup, so you don't have their onboarding complete, or their full service is not enabled. And what that means is that our tax filing is not enabled yet. Let's see. There we go. When either of those is completed, you'll see a little green check mark here. Now, this is a demo account, which is why none of these are completed except for this one company. By drilling into the details here, you get a little more information about that client. So you've got the contact info for that client. You've got the billing option here, and this is very important. So when you set up a new company, you can You can standardize your account so that by default, it makes you the owner of billing for each new customer, or on a case-by-case basis. You can have it set up to where your clients are paying their subscription fees. And what we're seeing here in this billing option is that the owner of this company, Dean Anderson, has control of billing. And that means that he's logged into Workful and he has put his credit card on file to pay the subscription fees. For anybody that you're paying the subscription for, we're going to give you an invoice breakdown that you can pull down anytime. And it's going to give you a list of all of your clients who are currently using Payroll, currently using Workful, and all of their active employees and how much each of them are costing you. So you have a credit card on file here, so you can rack up on your Sky Miles points or any other points card that you have, and then bill your clients outside of Workful or inside of Workful. Team members here, I don't know if you noticed when we were looking at that one client at the bottom, it had the sub pros who also have access to that. So this would be anybody in the office who's participating in Payroll with your tax office. So Charlie here has got access to a limited number of clients. I can remove his access. So let's say that somebody that I have to fire after tax season or during tax season or whatever, I can remove their access from all of my payroll clients. Or if it's a new hire and everybody in my company gets access to everything, I can grant access to all of the customers. So what that does is gives you the ability to maintain privacy, right? Keeping data safe, making sure that your employees only see what they have to see. All right, so let's talk about adding new clients. So after we set up that pro dashboard, I'm going to go in and add a new customer, and this is what it'll look like. I'm going to hit add client. I've got a couple options here. The primary one is going to be to just create the account. So I'm going to go click on create. First things first, you'll need the company name. Let's see. If you're in Georgia, you know pecans are a big industry here. And if you're up north, you probably thought it was funny that I said pecans and you call them pecans. All right, so first step is filling out the company info. So it's just the name and address. Step 2 is plugging in the client info. And this is where this is important. So this is a question that you'll have to discuss with the client is, do you want that client to access Workful? If you don't want them to access Workful, I guess you don't actually have to discuss it with them. But if you'd like them to, you're going to put in their contact info and you're going to say send invitation, right? So I'm going to say peter@email.com. And then I've got the option to send that person an invitation and they'll be able to log in and help set up the company. They'll be able to help run payroll. They'll take a little bit off my plate whenever I need them to. However, if you're the type of office that doesn't want their clients accessing payroll, one, because you're charging them for that, and you don't want them to participate in it because you want to be providing as much value as possible, or two, and I do hear this, that you think maybe the client might screw something up, so which would cause a headache for you down the road. So maybe you don't want them logging in. So you're gonna make sure that that's not clicked, and then down the road, if you want them to log in, you can invite them later, as we mentioned here. And then control of billing, I've got it set up to where I'm in control of billing. So when I add this company, it's going to be added to my monthly invoice. So we'll take a review of that. Everything looks good. I didn't send an invitation. I am in control of billing. And we're up. So now step 2 is going to be completing the onboarding menu. So I'm going to pull up Pecan Wholesalers. I'm going to go to visit company, and that's going to take me into that client's dashboard. Again, at this point, I'm the only person who has access to it, unless I have sub pros at my firm who have also given access to. And at this point, we're going to take you through a 6-step onboarding menu. Number 1 is going to be adding in employees or contractors, which are run through 2 separate payroll runs, but you can run them both through direct deposit. Number 2 is going to be setting up that pay schedule. So saying, is it a weekly, a bi-weekly, a monthly, quarterly, whatever that pay schedule is. And then what's the first payday that you want to enter in for this client. Step 3 is the bank account information. So this would be the bank account. So even if it's a client who you're printing checks for or who's handwriting their own checks, we'll still use this bank account to pay their taxes for them. So we'll draft their bank account, send it off to the IRS and the State Departments of Labor and Revenue. Or if you are processing direct deposit for that client, we're going to use this account for both transactions, the taxes and the direct deposits. And I'll let you know up front if you want to be set up for our 2-day ACH, we'll sync up through an online banking account. If our 4-day direct deposit is okay for you, then you can just link it with the routing and account number. You'll verify the deposit. You'll upload a few supporting documents directly from the client, including a form that they've signed saying that we can draft their account. Step 4 is the federal. You put in the EIN, you put in the deposit schedule for the federal taxes. State, depending on which state you're in, you're going to put in the withholding account and the unemployment insurance account, as well as their unemployment insurance rate. This is a good thing to point out. We won't let you do that unless you've added an employee first, because that's how we drive which states we're going to owe taxes to. And then lastly is the 8655. And now this is an electronic form. You'll just plug in the company owners or the company name and then the company owner's personal information. We submit that, and if it matches what the IRS has on file, they'll accept that as an e-signature. So at that point, we have a signed 8655, and we're able to file your taxes for you. All right, now I'm going to navigate back to my Pro dashboard here. And we're going to take a look at what it looks like to actually process payroll for a client. Which one did I set? All right, I'm going to go into Double Scoops Ice Cream here. I'm going to hit Run Payroll. They got a payroll due on Friday. Now, if this client is using the timesheet system, what we're going to do is calculate their paychecks based on the timesheets within Workful. So I would go hit Run Regular Payroll, and that would load in hours for any hourly employees here, like Napoleon and Ricky Road. And Stan, for the salaried employee, is just going to gross up their paycheck based on their salary. And you'll notice we have some other pay types here that you can key amounts into. But what I'm going to do for this particular client, I've got them set up with an Excel template. So I send them a template. You can generate it here by saying download the payroll file. What I'm going to do is upload. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I'm pulling a Excel file from my desktop that they've emailed to me. We're going to review that. Looks like we're good to go. So I'm going to import that Excel template, and it's going to recalc that payroll. So it looks like Dennis's, his is the same. We've got Napoleon over here. We've plugged in 40 hours, plus we've got some additional earnings. We can click in and see what that was. That was some tips that we're reporting and some tips that we've included in the check. That would be a credit card tip. And so you can see it updated the hours and the tips for each of these employees. So next step is going to be hitting save and continue. And in a moment, I'll pull up that spreadsheet so you can see what it looks like. Step 2 is a time off feature. This is something that some of your clients will really like. Some of them won't have any use for. It's there for you if you want to use it. Then lastly, we do a little summary. So you can pull down a summary of this payroll run. It's going to generate a PDF that'll load in just a moment. And from here, what you can do is look at all the liabilities, make sure the balances look correct. You can look at individual employees' pay stubs to make sure that everything looks good here. Federal income tax looks good. Hourly pay looks good. Okay, we're good to go. So at that point, I'm going to submit payroll. And if your client is set up for direct deposit, you won't see this screen. It'll just draft the direct deposit out of the client's account and send it to the employees. If you are printing checks, though, which some folks do, and some folks will have a mix of some employees on direct deposit, some employees on printed checks. I would typically recommend to try to get everybody on direct deposit to make your life easier. But you can do that. You can do a mix and match. You can do an either or. And in any situation, if you're set up for our tax filing, we'll handle the taxes. Okay. So at that point, you're done with this client. And what you can do is go back out to your Pro dashboard and look at the next client. All right. So I want to run through this template real quick so you've got a good idea of what it looks like. And I'm still pulling it up. Here we go. All right, so this is pretty straightforward. We've got our employees listed out in columns A and B with the last four of their social to identify them. We've got their job type and pay rate here. So you'll see with Napoleon, he's got his hourly rate where you'd plug in the regular hours, the overtime hours, and just to kind of hit on this, if your client is using the timesheet, and you export this template from the payroll run, it's going to pull down the hours that are currently on the timesheet, which will save you and them some time as well. From here, you can key in tips. You can key in other pay types like bonuses and commissions. And then if you haven't added or removed any employees, you can also reuse this same template over and over again. All right, I'm going to go back to sharing this Workful Pro window. And Maggie, would you mind chatting at me? Have we heard any, you have any questions that we've heard that we want to cover? Otherwise, I'm going to go into some other features that we're offering. Okay, hadn't heard anything from Maggie, so I'm going to keep going here. Let's see. I'm going to go into Augusta WebWorks. What I want to show you now is what it looks like when we have filed taxes for your customer. I want to show you the package that we provide to you so that you can look through it in detail. Oh, wrong customer. I apologize. But I want you to be able to see exactly what it looks like for us to. There we go. To file taxes for your customers. So after the quarter, after we filed the 1090, after we filed your 941s and your state forms, and we've made all those payments, we're going to create this, what we call a tax filing package. And we're going to load it into the documents of that employee's account or that client's account. And then you can pull this up so you'll have an exact representation or exact copy of everything we filed and how we came about those figures. Here we go. So we'll show you all the deposits we made throughout the quarter, any payments we made on that last filing, the actual 941 that we filed for that client, and then any state forms that we filed. So we've got the Georgia voucher here and the Georgia worksheet to show you how we got to those numbers. I know that these ones are blank. This is a test company, but that's something that you'd have on file at any time, or something that you'd be able to send to your client if you have a client who'd like to have a copy of it. Okay. I see that Maggie is still working on some questions, so I'm going to come back to her here in just a little bit. All right, so invoicing clients, this is something that I hear about often. So I want to look at, let's see, go back to my Workful Pro. Gonna look at, I think Bakerfield Technology is one that I have set up for this. So I think this is a really convenient workaround, since this account is going to be hooked up to the client's banking anyway. And since they know that you have access to it and they have access to it if you'd like them to, one thing you can do is add yourself in as a contractor, add your firm in as a contractor. And from here, you could say, you'd put in your EIN, and you'd say you've got a fixed rate or an hourly rate, whatever it is that you've agreed to with that client. And then you can generate a contractor payment through ACH direct from your client to you for again, fixed rate or hourly rate. And then it will track it here. So you'll know, and the client will know how much you've earned off that client. And then at the end of the year, we can tally it up and file a 1099 from that client to you for those services. Okay, so I'm going to go back out to my Pro dashboard here, and I think I've got something from, nope, nothing from Maggie yet. So I'm going to cover one more thing, and that is the employee experience. So if you have a client whose employees are, I'm going to cover two more things. I'm sorry. If you have a client whose employees are going to be logging in and out of Workful, I want to show you what they're going to experience. And if you have employees at your tax firm that you want to pay through Workful, they'll also have access to an employee dashboard. And from here, they can manage their time clock. So they can clock in and out. They can see how many hours they've worked. They can request edits to their timesheet. They can review pay stubs. They've got a document system here. So if the client wants to share important company documents or tax forms, they can share it directly with their employees. They can request time off and submit expense and mileage reports, which is also something they can do with the mobile app. Most importantly for you, though, they can go in here and get their pay stubs, and they can go in here and see and review their personal information. So let's say you've got a client whose employees want to split their paychecks between separate direct deposit accounts. Depending on what system you're currently using, that might fall on you to make it happen. With Workful, you can have the client's employees log in, put in their own bank account information so you never have to touch it, split their paycheck up between as many accounts as they want without you having to intervene or troubleshoot for them. They can also see their withholdings for state and federal, and they can update that as necessary. If they get married, they have a life-changing event, they can go and do that without having to go through you, if you want them accessing. Otherwise, everything would go through you. All right, now I'm going to go back to the admin perspective here. All right, so on the admin view, I'm going to look at two things in particular. One is a QuickBooks Online integration. I know that a lot of you, regardless of what payroll system you're using, you've got clients that are married to, or maybe you're married to, QuickBooks Online system. We've got an integration. It's an API integration where if you process payroll in Workful, we're going to push that data into that client's books account. So you would sync the accounts up, you'd set a date to start, and then say whether or not you want to include past data. So meaning if you've already been running payroll for a client in Workful and you want to sync it up in here now, you can do that. All right, some other settings. I think this is a brand new one, so I'm just going to cover it real quick. Company holidays. You can select which holidays you want to show up as paid holidays for your clients. So really important for companies with hourly employees. If there's holidays that they pay for, you can select which ones or not have any at all. If you're an office that's going to have your clients logging in and out of Workful, well, those clients might want their employees to help with payroll or help manage things like employees, timesheets, PTO as well. We've got a role management system, so you can be very granular with what permissions you offer to your clients and to their employees. You've got admin permissions. That would be people who can log in and create things like PTO policies. They can edit timesheets. You've got manager permissions, and those would be approving requests. So approving time clock edits, approving PTO requests. And all that does is takes a little weight off of your shoulders, puts it on the client's shoulders. And then lastly, our reports. So with the reports, you can generate payroll history. This would be individual payroll runs. So you can select any payroll run that you've processed in the past, or if you would like to do a date range, you can use our payroll register tool. You can filter out by location if you have clients with multiple locations. If you want to filter by job title, this would be important for, really this is kind of a workaround that people will use in lieu of departments. So if you have job titles set up on each employee, you can split out sales reporting versus admin reporting. And then you can set the date range for whatever you need it to be, whether it's the quarter, the full year, what have you. And then you can export these to any one of these file formats, whether it's PDF, CSV, Excel, and so forth. All right, so just to recap, if you are interested in moving forward with Workful Pro, or maybe if you're an existing customer and you want to look at growing more of your business with Workful Pro, we are going to be reaching out to everybody in the next 24 hours. We'll try to call everybody today, get your take on it, and give you any direction for next steps. If you're still on the fence, we would really like to hear from you and let us know what it is that maybe would tip the scales. And then we'd also like your feedback on this presentation and the demo itself, in case there's ways that we can improve it and make it more useful, because I know your time is very valuable. And then one more time, Maggie, any questions that have come through that we want to cover here? She's got some questions. All right. Let's have them. All right. How easy is it to transfer from one program to another program, or to Workful? It is, okay, it's extremely easy. Number one, I'll tell you what makes it easy, though. What makes it easy is you having all the necessary data for us to either handle in-house or to do yourself. Now, setting up a new company, let's say it's a 5-employee company. If you have all the information in front of you, you can do that in less than an hour. But we're happy to do that for you. So the crux always seems to be a little bit of information that just hasn't been gotten yet. And that might be employee direct deposit accounts. That might be a state unemployment insurance number. Or it might be a social security number, because the program that you're currently using blocks you from seeing that. So if you have all that data and you can share it with us, switching from your program to ours, it can literally take you no work and very little time. We'd like to say, if it's something you're very serious about, reach out because we'd like to get you on the calendar to make sure that we have time to get you set up before January 1st. I know that's the next pressing date. Okay, we had a question about using gross pay instead of net pay. I think the best workaround for that would be, I'm going to go into Bakerfield technology here. Hey, Maggie, can you clarify that last question a little bit? For payroll, if you're someone who's doing after the fact payroll, or maybe your clients have already paid their employees and you're just trying to use the same gross or use the same net, I guess, and then gross it up with taxes, you may want to use our off-cycle payroll run. Again, for after the fact and for anybody who wants to manipulate withholdings and deductions. So on this step, you can skip through any employees that you don't want included. So we're going to skip Daniel. We'll skip, we'll keep her. We're going to skip Gerald here. We're going to say her salary was $8,000. On step 2, and I'm going to go back. I apologize. I was moving a little bit too fast. In the advanced settings here, if you're doing after the fact, this is going to be pretty important. You can set the pay period. So if you want to do a full month or a full quarter, you can do that. And then set the pay schedule for whatever pay schedule you want to calculate it on. And then most importantly, which I really skipped over, is that check date. So if you're trying to do the end of the quarter, we're going to record a previous payroll run. And again, this is something that we can still automate the taxes on if this payroll is plugged in soon enough. So we start filing taxes a couple of days after the end of the quarter. We got to make sure that this data is in the program in order for us to pick it up. All right, so going back here, I'm going to skip this guy. I'm going to skip this guy. We're going to record that $8,000. Step 2 is going to be PTO. Step 3 is going to be the taxes and deductions. And from here, you can manipulate these taxes to say, well, she actually wants to withhold a lot. She pretty much wants to capture all her withholdings with this one paycheck. You can do that and then submit payroll, and we're going to record that paycheck. Okay. Next question up. Two pays. Okay. So we got a question about setting up unemployment insurance, and this would be kind of in line with setting up withholding accounts as well. We actually literally just partnered with a company that we can use to set up new clients' accounts. Now, there's third-party fees associated with that. I think it's a great deal, but it's certainly another expense. So as you're talking to your clients, if you want us to assist with that, a third party that actually does that registration for the client would bill you. Otherwise, we'll help in any way we can. How to print checks. Okay, I've got a question about checks. So what we do, I'm going to go back to that company that we processed for earlier, or I can just grab this one. So I'm going to go into this payroll history, and maybe I need a reprint check. So I'm going to download that check, and this is exactly what we would have done at the last step of the payroll run that I processed for you earlier. So we're going to generate a layout here that is compatible with a company that we use called Checks for Less. It's also compatible with a lot of QuickBooks formatted checks, but essentially it's compatible with pre-printed checks. So if you've got the client's checks with the routing account number printed on them already, you could print out all their paychecks for them or you can send them this file and they can print it out in their office. All right, now we're coming up on an hour, so I'm gonna cut off the Q&A. However, we're gonna be reaching out to you today. We'd love to hear directly from you. If you need assistance getting started, please reach out. We'll walk you through it, do a one-on-one screen share and walk you through that whole process. If you have clients that you want help getting set up, we can send you a list of all the data we'll need, and we'll help you get that hammered out as well. Thanks so much for joining us today. We stop that share. We appreciate your time, and we really look forward to working with you. Again, if you haven't used us yet, give us the opportunity. We'd love to work with you. Thanks so much. Have a great day. And congrats on getting past the 15th. I know it was a big week for everybody.